Mexico is one of the closest neighbors to the United States. Not only does it serve as a major trade partner, but also creates a buffer to the rest of the South American continent. But how do immigrants go from here in Jalisco to San Diego? Well, before the new Trump administration took over, it was reported that more than 600,000 people illegally entered the United States. This is only data from the financial year of October 2023 to September 2024. But how does this happen? In this video, we will explore how Mexicans enter the United States illegally. Some of these methods will definitely shock you, explaining the cunning and desperation of many illegal migrants currently living in the United States. Let's dive in. Britzia and Maria Munoz Robles, two undocumented immigrants who made their way to the United States as children, have recently opened up about their story. According to the twins, they were born in Zacatecas, Mexico. The area formed a major part of the Aztecs and features a wealth of historic buildings. However, life was hard. In a recent publication by the University of Notre Dame, they shared their story. The twins recalled living in their grandparents' house before entering the U.S. The house was often overcrowded, occupied by their father's 8 siblings and their entire families. It became unbearable for the family. One day, when the twins were 5, their mother gave them each a toy and new names. The family got on a bus in Zacatecas, which took them up to the border. From there, they got onto another bus, which took them to the United States. Once they crossed into the U.S., they made their way up to Nevada, where the family spent time living in the garage of their father's boss. At this time, he was working in the construction industry as an undocumented immigrant. However, the family finally built a home, allowing them to have some freedom. But this was limited. The twins stated they would be kept inside for weeks on end, especially when ICE agents were in town. The twins would live lives as normal Americans where possible, eventually receiving DACA status and going on to stay in the United States. But this is only one method often used to enter the U.S. Many use far more nefarious methods. Unfortunately, names of those entering the U.S. using some of these methods are not made public, and we will explain this in a fictional context. One of the biggest dangers for many illegal immigrants is the U.S. Border Patrol. These officers are tasked with manning the border and making sure no one enters without the right paperwork. A preferred method for many of these illegals is literally just walking over the border. This is often done when immigrants travel from their city of origin to the U.S. border. Here, they might set up camp for a while, often collaborating with other immigrants, but to simply cross the border, even under the Biden administration, is not as easy as the media would have you believe. Aside from physical agents, the U.S. authorities make use of drones, heat-seeking cameras, and even dogs to seek out those crossing. So, immigrants often wait till the dark of night. They will then look for weaknesses in the border or areas with limited patrols. Under the cover of darkness, they navigate the unforgiving terrains, hiding beneath trees, sleeping on the ground, and even crawling to avoid detection. Once they have reached the other side, it becomes a race to avoid authorities. These immigrants often carry some money with them, allowing them to make use of public transport. If they have contacts in the U.S., they will often travel to them. Others simply seek large cities. In fact, places like Chicago, New York, and San Diego make it extremely easy to disappear in the crowd. Once the immigrants are among the crowds, they are much harder to find, and they slowly build a life for themselves. But we will get to how they do this in just a second. Another method to enter the U.S. is often with the assistance of criminal organizations. The cartels are usually the best option for these desperate individuals. Moreover, the cartels completely change the game, using far more advanced methods to cross the border. With years of experience transporting illicit substances to the north, the cartels don't rely on their methods of crossing alone. They often have people on the inside who clear the way for them to enter. One of the most popular methods, uncovered by Border Patrol on their famous television series, is that of using regular transport. Since Mexico is the biggest South American trading partner of the United States, trucks and trains crossing the border are nothing new. But it creates an opportunity. By paying off officials on the Mexican side, these cartel members will carve out small compartments in trucks and trains. The immigrants are then placed inside these areas, where they travel by train or truck across the border. While the United States has developed state-of-the-art technology to clamp down on this, some still make it through. Once they arrive at a predetermined destination, they are often received by other cartel members. They will then be directed to a final destination. However, they can also be abandoned, leaving them to find their own way in the U.S. The cartels also use this method as a way of transporting illicit drugs into the United States. Despite the authorities using advanced forms of technology, criminals like cartels have also evolved. Recently, various drones have also been spotted along the southern border. These are not U.S. drones, but rather that of the cartel members themselves.
Organized crime have also recognized how they can use this technology, such as drones, to facilitate their profits in their drug trade.
The cartels can use these drones to seek a clear path for those looking to cross the border. Since technology has taken a major leap in the last decade or so, this is often done under the radar. Once a path is deemed as clear, the drone still plays a pivotal role in making sure that routes remain clear. Moreover, you might wonder how the cartel members communicate with one another. This is not clear as of this video, but the use of mobile devices makes the most sense. However, two-way encrypted radios are often best to avoid detection through mobile cell towers. But there is also another method the cartels use to bring immigrants into the U.S., and this one is often much harder to detect. Recently, the BBC revealed a tunnel running between Ciudad Juarez in Mexico and El Paso in Texas. The tunnel stretches 300 meters under the U.S. border and was initially concealed as a sewer system. According to U.S. authorities, the tunnel took several years to construct and features numerous safety mechanisms. Along the sides, various wooden support beams are found. This prevents the tunnels from collapsing, especially after hefty rain. Moreover, it has adequate lighting, often powered by illegal connections or generators. A ventilation system has also been added to reduce the risk of suffocation. Authorities explain that cartel members would use the tunnel to smuggle drugs from Mexico into the United States. Since it happens underground, it becomes virtually impossible to detect. However, the recent migrant surge has forced the cartels to reuse these tunnels for other purposes. Instead of smuggling drugs, they are now used to smuggle humans.
Authorities in Texas are working to break down a long tunnel used by cartels to smuggle migrants here into the U.S.
But how does this work? According to USA Today, migrants will contact someone who is connected to the cartel. They then set up a meeting to discuss exactly how and what is needed. The cartel then sets a price, which could be as high as $6,000 per person. Many reports suggest prices can even run up to $15,000 per person to cross the border. Once all the admin has been agreed to, the cartels set a plan in motion. The migrant will generally meet up with the cartel members. Once they meet up, they will avoid Mexican authorities and move to the entrance of the tunnel. This generally happens at night but can also be done during the day. The cartels will then smuggle the migrants through these tunnels, allowing them to reach the designated area. These tunnels often connect to sewage systems but can also reach homes. Once the migrant reaches U.S. soil, they are given a destination and will often have some money to reach it. The migrant once again relies on local public transport, where they will reach their desired destination. From here, they are often left to their own devices. Naturally, there's always a risk traversing these tunnels. Recently, the United States has begun filling up these discovered tunnels with cement, which could nullify any attempts to cross the U.S. border. To reduce the risk and speed up the crossing process, the cartels have devised a near-perfect plan. If you cast your mind back to 2015, it is much easier to understand how the cartels approach this. Back then, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, former leader of the Sinaloa cartel, was arrested in Mexico. However, this wasn't going to last long. During his time in jail, cartel members began digging a tunnel to a nearby facility. The tunnel was fitted with a track and mounted with an off-road bike. Once he escaped, he could travel by bike to the facility. Now, while no tunnels with such a setup have been found yet, it wouldn't surprise anyone if this happens at some point. Using a rail system, though, well, that's something the cartel relies on. As recently as 2020, authorities discovered a tunnel stretching from Mexico to California. It is reported that the tunnel was more than 6 football fields in length. More surprising is the fact that a rail system was fully operational. The cartels even connected sufficient power, which speeds up the smuggling process. This all in an attempt to smuggle illegals into the United States. But how do these migrants survive in the U.S.? If you have ever lost your ID or shared your personal information online, this is why you are warned not to do so. The stolen information market is quite vast and very lucrative. One reason for the very expensive prices charged by the cartels is to get you a brand new identity. Migrants are often issued with fake names and details to get by. This helps them find employment, especially in the blue-collar industry. Moreover, the cartel often strikes up deals with some of these business owners. They will help supply them with cheap labor, receiving kickbacks from profits. Many immigrants choose this path where they are given some kind of start. Unfortunately, others end up in safe haven cities, living on the streets or on public welfare. With the rise of the Trump administration, the crossing of migrants has dropped significantly. This removes the burden on the U.S. taxpayer and forces Mexicans to follow the legal route for immigration.
And I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever.
Do you think you will be able to make it on this journey from Mexico to the United States? Well, we look forward to seeing your responses in the comments below.